Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Good morning, pineapples. Monday morning. 69 people watching the Wake Up America show. Nice. Click that like button. And if today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, we'd love to have you be a regular guest on the program. The easiest way to do that is to click the follow button after you click the like button and come back and join us every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. We're glad to have you here. Frickety, Bruce Birtwhistle, Mongoose 87. It wouldn't be the same without the Mongoose. Somebody's got to attack the Cobra. Caleb Vanderfeltz, CO Day. Doesn't like us so much anymore these days, but he comes back anyway. BB for Liberty, Mind Art, Quest Fanning, Nelson 65, T-Mill 22, Southcott, Quantum Kitty, Frickety. Glad to have you here, as well as Barney Styles, firing on all cylinders this morning. Good, it's delicious. I'm drinking Founding Flavors coffee again this morning. Looking very good and very nice. Here's your top 5 rundown of the biggest political news stories affecting conservatives and libertarians in the United States today. President Trump has escalated his immigration crackdown by invoking a wartime law to deport immigrants alleged to be gang members without court hearings. This move underscores Trump's commitment to law and order, a principle cherished by many conservatives. But it also sparks debate about due process and the extent of executive power, a question that is interesting to libertarians like Latrell. Good morning, L-Dubs. Nice to see everybody. In a significant policy move, Donald Trump has announced sweeping tariffs on goods from Canada, Mexico, and China. 25% on Canada, 25% on Mexico, 10% on China? What? Squeeze me? There's a quote that I was reading about this weekend where it's dangerous to be America's enemy, but it's even more dangerous to be America's friend. The U.S. Supreme Court has continued to challenge the Biden administration's legacy with recent decisions that favor conservative interpretations of law. This includes rulings on issues like immigration, gun rights, and environmental regulations, which shows the court's influence on policy, of course, and the importance of judicial appointments. There's also been a notable change in U.S. foreign aid policy, with the State Department freezing nearly all foreign assistance worldwide. This action reflects an America First approach from the administration, focusing resources domestically, which of course resonates with conservatives and libertarians like us who advocate for less foreign entanglement and more domestic focus. We're going to really focus on that today. And number one here on your list, the top 5 big news stories, things happening now in the United States. In response to the Supreme Court's ruling on military trials for civilians, there's been a push for the immediate release of political figures like Dr. Kizza Besigye in Uganda, where issues in the U.S. This debates questions over military over civilian jurisdiction. This story brings to light questions about civil liberties, the role of the military, and the separation of powers. So we're going to talk about those stories and more here on the Wake Up America show. But now we can really start because John Rail is here. Good morning, guys. Glad to have you here on the Wake Up America show. I always appreciate those people like Steelbringer who join us nice and bright and early and who are big.
Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice.
My father-in-law visited this weekend, and he started saying, "Good morning, pineapples," and I started laughing so hard because it was like, apparently somebody's listening to the Wake Up America show. And he was even like making references to some of the inside jokes that we have, but not just Good Morning Pineapples here on the show. You know what's funny, too, about the whole Good Morning Pineapples thing? When I first started playing that sound clip and started singing the Good Morning Pineapples song, a bunch of people, I don't know if it was any of you guys, but at the time, a bunch of people were like, "No, I hate it. Don't play it. It's terrible." And now it's a meme, and we all love it, and we all sing it together.
Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice.
Further emphasizing the reason why you should say, F the naysayers, F the haters, they don't mean a thing. This is what style we bring. Just If it feels good, do it. I don't want my Christian friends and pastors to be like, no, that is not good advice. If it feels good, do it. You can't listen to other people about how you want to live life. You got to do what you think is right and try and enjoy yourself. If you like it, do it. It's your show. Let's do it, right? Good morning, Whitey White 14. He's bitching about the South African whites having their property stolen by blacks. Trump wouldn't say whites. He said classes. That's interesting. Yes, we're going to talk about that story. I do have that this morning, and I have a billion clips. RVolt24 is upset with me because he thinks that it's a good idea to charge me and Steffi higher prices, which we'll just force onto our consumers, of course, and raise prices on poor people, which is what corporations do whenever there's tariffs. But RVolt24 has cracked the code. He's angry at me for appealing to authority. Well, yeah, you're right. It's possible for Thomas Sowell and Milton Friedman to be wrong about economics. However, I'm going to take their opinion 9 times out of 10 over the random guy that you meet on Twitter. It's safer that way. I'm not saying trust the experts. You should question the experts. Matter of fact, I think I found 1 or 2 things that Milton Friedman was wrong about, but the things that he was wrong about, I don't think you're going to like because they're even more libertarian and less conservative and more limited government and less big government. And I know conservatives are not big fans of what libertarians think about a lot of issues when it comes to immigration and drugs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But let's not focus on that or the fact that the stock market is bleeding and many of us are losing our shirts and our 401ks and our investments and all that. No. The pain is all part of the process, I guess. Let's talk about the good news, guys. Can we focus on the wonderful things happening? Elon Musk moving with lightning speed to exert control over the government. The left is losing their shit. They don't know what to do. I saw a poll over the weekend that came out that showed that the approval rating of the Democratic Party amongst the American people was like 32%. You love to see it. Frickety says, man, I'm usually not a fan of the old mustache, but AP is looking damn good with it. Oh, thank you, Frickety. I'm impressed. It just takes one man to wear well. Yes, I appreciate that. The billionaire's representatives gained access to a Treasury Department payment system and sensitive documents at USAID. Elon Musk's allies are moving swiftly to exert control over vast swaths of the U.S. government as they demand access to sensitive information at federal agencies and lay out plans to block spending that they see as excessive. You love to see it.
Job right now with
I do. I think Elon's doing a good job. He's a big cost cutter. Sometimes we won't agree with it and we'll not go where he wants to go, but I think he's doing a great job. He's a smart guy, very smart, and he's very much into cutting the budget of our federal government.
Mr. President.
There you go. He's got the Donald Trump seal of approval. Bill Maher is regaling us these days with his drift towards conservatism. He's still got Trump derangement syndrome, but I am enjoying seeing him cleaning it up on the left.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, they asked him a question today, and I'm sure if you're of the type of person who just always hates the one team and loves what the other one does, they asked him a question about the crash. They said, will you visit the crash site? Now, every other politician would go, of course, it was a tragedy. And he went, it's the water. What do you want me to do, swim there? You know? And I was like, exactly, fuck right. You're exactly right. It's a stupid question, and you got just the answer you deserve.
Yes. True. Dear Lord, you made many poor people. I realize, of course, it's no great dishonor to being poor. Of course, it's no great honor either. Welcome to the Wake Up America Show. We just crossed 110 people this morning on the Wake Up America Show. You love to see it. We are small, but we are mighty. I'm AP, and I'm glad that you're here. So I hope you'll stick around, click that like button, and come back and join us every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. Make sure you click that follow button before you leave. Elon Musk oversaw a successful effort by his representatives to get direct access to a payment system that distributes trillions of dollars to Americans each year. And individuals working for Doge accessed the U.S. Agency for International Development, that's USAID, following a clash with security officials. I mean, the drama is at a fever pitch. This move marks the start of a far-reaching campaign by Musk to upend the federal government agency. The effort prompted outrage from Democrats and some Republicans, you know, the traitors on our side, who said Musk doesn't have the authority to overturn programs and spending priorities decided by Congress. Well, if Donald Trump is allowing him in there to run this agency, well, I think it's hard to say. The Congress is, why don't you assert yourselves, Congress? Huh? No, but you don't want to take responsibility for this. The Congress has allowed this to continue for generation after generation. And now when someone actually steps in and offers accountability, oh, well, Congress needs to step in and assert their authority. What, you let Obama run roughshod over the Constitution. He did nothing. When George W. Bush passed the Patriot Act, Congress just rubber stamps everything the president does. But then when someone finally goes in there and wants to say, hey, let's have some accountability over our dollars, then all of a sudden everybody starts talking about congressional authority. Proper congressional authorization. Excuse me. No. Okay, shut up. Okay. This is completely unprecedented, said Richard Painter, the chief White House ethics lawyer under former President George W. Bush. Shut up. I've never seen anything like this before. It's beautiful. Good morning, pineapples. Good morning. Just sat down and worked. Nice to see you here in Jam 77. Whitey White 14, please treat other people with respect, even if you think that they are anti-white. I'm just begging you because I really would like everybody to be able to stay in the chat this morning, but we try and like create a healthy community in the chat. So if you guys, it's okay to argue, it's okay to fight, it's okay to like, be angry at each other and stuff like that. I'm just asking that you try and treat people with at least as amount of the same amount of respect you would say to somebody's face in the chat. It's just, I would prefer a healthy community, please. Throughout the weekend, Elon Musk posted dozens of messages on X. He said he plans to shut down some Health and Human Services Department grants and asserted that terrorist groups had received payments by the Treasury Department. The Wall Street Journal is so not happy about this. They keep adding corrections in here like there's no evidence that the terrorists have gotten money. And then the Treasury Department has a do not pay system designed to prevent that. Well, it doesn't sound like it's preventing that, Wall Street Journal. Elon Musk criticized the Republican senator who could be crucial on vote on Trump's nominee, and then walked back his attack. He said he was on track to cut federal spending by $4 billion a day, but he didn't specify how he was reducing costs. The Wall Street Journal really does not like this. He said career Treasury officials were routinely making illegal payments. Very few in the bureaucracy actually work the weekend. So it's like the opposing team just leaves the field for 2 days, Musk wrote. Brilliant! We use their laziness against them, and you love to see it. So Elon Musk has cracked the code. If you want to beat the deep state, just go in and take over the offices when they're not there on the weekend. Whitey White 14, I treat him the way he treated me with disrespect, but I won't play into his Jewish anti-white games anymore. AP, thank you. Thank you, Whitey White. Please don't play into his Jewish anti-white games. Just play into my Jewish anti-white games. So don't forget, guys, we've got, it's Monday, so we got John Milton here this morning on the Wake Up America show at 8 a.m. Central Time. We're going to speak to John Milton about the folly of tariffs, how no one wins in a trade war. We'll hear from John Milton this morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. The dumbest trade war fallout has begun. Don't look at your 401ks, your Roth IRAs, or your retirement plans. If you've got any investments in the stock market this morning, today's the day to just not look unless you're doing margin day trading or something like that and you need to get out of the market as soon as possible. Okay. And I just crossed 103,000 followers over on x.com this morning. And you'll love to see it. 104,000 is actually my lucky number. Yes, it is, as a matter of fact. So if you're not following me on X, please do so at x.com/AP4Liberty. Luttrell really has the meat of it. He has the heart of it. Says, it's amazing how much drama there is to just firing bureaucrats who shouldn't be there. Exactly. Why are they so upset? All right, go get jobs in the private sector, you dips. Next clip.
Why why South
No,
Africa?
it's only South Africa. Terrible things are happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things, horrible things. So that's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination. And until such time as we find out what South Africa is doing, they're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
And only why South Africa?
No, he's right. These African farmers, I think many of them former Boers, right? Remember the Boer Wars, late 1800s? No, you guys don't remember? Boer Wars, like South Africa, Dutch farmers and, against the British Empire, and then, Winston Churchill and first concentration camps. We'll talk about Winston Churchill later. I've got a Winston Churchill over here. If you can see behind me, I took my family to the Winston Churchill Museum this weekend. And as you can see back here, I have my Winston Churchill, isn't it? I forgot to put my awe button in there. Tucker Carlson sat down to debate with Piers Morgan over the Israel question, talk about Winston Churchill, and he said that Winston Churchill is to blame for the fall of the West. So I thought that was interesting, and it just so happened that video came out the same day that I took my father-in-law and my wife and baby to the Winston Churchill Museum, which is in right here in mid-Missouri, in Fulton, Missouri. The Winston Churchill Museum is at Westminster College. It's where Winston Churchill gave his Iron Curtain speech. And since then, many world leaders have come to Fulton, Missouri, like Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, and many others have come to Fulton, Missouri to give speeches in following that line. And there were a lot of nice things in the gift shop, but the one thing that I really wanted was the Winston Churchill duck. So we're going to talk. We'll play Tucker Carlson's comments, talk a little bit about Winston Churchill. Was he the bad guy in World War II and Hitler was actually the big hero? Whitey White 14 might say yes. I think I'll go on the no side for that and say Winston Churchill is a lion of Western civilization and conservative thought. Maybe not necessarily libertarian thought, but of course, since conservatives and libertarians have so much in common, I think it's fair to say that there is a lot to admire in Winston Churchill. A lot to criticize, yes, but of course, even Thomas Jefferson had slaves, and so did George Washington, and we still lionize them. Yes, there we go. Ken Shiroryu, the Ryukyu Islands. Ken Shiroryu. Everyone is so used to the old system and inflation. They just want to continue the downward spiral instead of taking the bloody path to change the bad economic system of the past 100 years of fiat. Correct. Domo arigato gozaimashita. Arigato gozaimasu. Domo arigato gozaimasu. Hai.
Get paid. But Doge, I think great progress has been made. We're talking about cutting over $1 trillion of waste. We're talking about waste. We're not talking about we're going to love and cherish Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. We're not going to do anything with that other than if we can find some abuse or waste, we'll do something, but the people won't be affected. It'll only be more effective and better. And our country, as our country gets richer, the people on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, those people are going to be more secure. If Biden had gotten elected, Social Security was going to fail because the country was failing. It was going to fail. The country was going to fail.
Interesting. I have a tendency to believe him. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, we're talking about Elon Musk hack and slash. USAID must die. Ken Shero. There we go. Ken Shero. Well, I thought Ryu at the end. RYU. Like the Ryukyu Islands. On Saturday, roughly 8 Doge representatives sought access to classified systems and floors at USAID's building in downtown Washington. According to current and former USAID officials, senior Democratic congressional aides, security officials initially resisted the Doge representatives' request, which some people familiar with the confrontation say included demands for access to personnel information. The security officials, John Voorhees and his deputy, were then put on administrative leave for not complying. This is some high drama. The Doge representatives were given access to at least the executive secretariat, a nerve center for coordination and communication for the agency's highest levels, and the Office of General Counsel, your current USAID official said. They also sought access to the Office of the Inspector General, but it was unclear if they were able to enter. What is USAID? Let's take a listen.
State Department, USAID, and the National Endowment for Democracy. Now USAID is, a very notorious. It's sort of a switch player. There's no aid in USAID, by the way. That's your brain is being tricked when you see the phrase USAID. It's not an aid organization. The aid in USAID stands for U.S. Agency for International Development. It is developing internationally around the world all of the institutions that the State Department needs to use. So when they are capacity building activist groups in a foreign country, that's because the State Department wants those activists there. Now, USAID, for the first time in its history, it was created in the early 1960s by JFK, 1961. It was created because you had all of this intelligence, statecraft, and military support and logistical aid that was tripping over itself, basically. The military would be funding, would be running aid to certain groups in the region. The State Department would be running aid to certain groups in the region. The intelligence community would, and there was no sort of central coordinator of those capacity building operations. So USAID, by the way, is a $50 billion budget. The entirety of the intelligence community is only $72 billion. So it is more than the CIA and more than the State Department.
Wow.
And aid is basically USAID is effectively a switch player to assist the Pentagon with on the national security front, to assist the State Department on the national interest front, or to assist the intelligence community on a sort of clandestine operations front.
So dirty money going to do dirty deeds, USAID. It's not like it's foreign aid going to help poor people in Africa, right? But it's actual money laundering operations that it sounds like, to me, at least that's what it sounds like to me. But it sounds like their days are numbered. Mene, mene, tekel, parson, for those who remember their Old Testament. Now, Doge and their representatives who seized this department and took control apparently got access to some classified information. I'm telling you, this is high drama, folks. It's unclear, though, if Doge intended to gain access to some of the classified information. Matt Hobson, USAID's Trump-appointed chief of staff, has stepped down. So, I mean, it's just absolute chaos and anarchy happening inside the federal government right now. Isn't it wonderful? It's beautiful. You love to see it. They're panicking over there. They're panicking.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm. Wait. Everybody, calm down.
In a social media post, White House spokesman Stephen Chung called media reports about Doge representatives getting access to secure spaces at USAID fake news. The potential access, this is Democratic lawmakers on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. They wrote Saturday to Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Here's what they said about what's going on here. The potential access of sensitive, even classified files, which may include the personally identified information of Americans working with USAID, and this incident as a whole raises deep concerns about the protection and safeguarding of matters related to national security. They're panicking. They're freaking out. And you love to see it. This episode unfolded as Elon Musk worked to disassemble the 10,000-person, $40 billion agency and rein in its autonomy. Musk posted on X over the weekend that USAID was a corrupt organization filled with Marxist staffers. USAID is a criminal organization, he wrote. Time for it to die. God damn.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
USAID.gov, the agency's website, was actually taken offline and placed into a subsection of the state's website, the Department of State. Then USAID's X account was also removed, and then the message that was left behind was just that this account doesn't exist. Get this, get a load of this. The new leaders at USAID, hold on, where's the picture? There it is. The new leaders at USAID also abruptly laid off contractors who made up about half of the workforce in the agency's humanitarian bureau on Tuesday. Humanitarians with guillotines, more like. In the agency's humanitarian bureau, knocking them out of systems so that some actually literally vanished in the middle of video conferences. Oh my God, I love love it. I love it. I hate the tariffs. I hate the out of the tariffs. But God, I love what Elon Musk is doing. I mean, can you imagine you're having it's this guy, William Wolf, posted it perfectly. He says, Trump is literally Thanos snapping the deep state out of existence.
FBI, open up!
Good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. Welcome to the Wake Up America Show. It's only 7:30. We're already having an absolute blast. Good morning, pineapples. Looking very good, very nice. And if you're enjoying the Wake Up America Show, guys, make sure you click that like button if you haven't already. And if today's your first time watching the Wake Up America Show, click the follow button as well. We'd be glad to have you be a regular guest here on the show. You can send us a text and contact us this morning at 573-319-1586. Again, the text lines are open. You can send me a message and Steffi a message. She always checks those messages too at 573-319-1586. Again, that's 573-319-1586. Someone even sent me a song that they wrote here on the Wake Up America. She Cried by John Bordenaro. Hold on, let's see.
With a teardrop in her eye, she slams the screen door and asks him why.
Pretty damn good.
With that teardrop on his sleeve, he says, maybe, baby, it's time for me to leave. Maybe, baby, it's time for me to go.
There we go.
Stop telling why she cried, living behind no disguise.
I'm going to give that a 10 out of 10. Well done, John Bordenaro. Living behind a disguise. If anybody wants to grab a copy of that track, it's available on YouTube. Send me a text message at 573-319-1586. We'll be glad to spread the good word of John Bordenaro and his beautiful music. She Cried by John Bordenaro. Good morning. Good morning. How you doing, Maria Edenbow? Oh, Maria. Great to see you. Elon Musk says he spent the weekend feeding USAID into the wood chipper. God bless him. Could have gone to some great parties, but did that instead. Mike Ben says it isn't dead yet, but already, and for the very first time, a hole has been put in the terror Titanic. Milo, remember Milo Yiannopoulos, says, by closing USAID, Trump and Musk have toppled the most gigantic global terror organization in history. Brittany Ray underneath that. I don't know how much that actually... $50 billion saved so far from the Department of Government Efficiency. You love to see it. So many wonderful things happening. Where does he get those wonderful toys? The Department of Government Efficiency. On Friday, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent granted DOJ representatives access to the Treasury Department's payment system that's typically run by career civil servants. Get them out of there. And distributes entitlement benefits. Get them out of there. Grants and tax refunds. Get those out of there. Get them paid. Former Treasury Department officials who worked in Republican and Democratic administration said they weren't aware of any instances in which political appointees sought access to the payment network, which they likened to the pipes that allow the federal money to flow in and out of government. Good. Get it out of there. Get it out of there. While political appointees would have needed to understand the capabilities and operations of the system, having direct access to the system wouldn't have been necessary to provide that knowledge, these people said. During debt limit standoffs, for example, when the Treasury was employing emergency cash conservation measures, policymakers received daily reports on payment inflows. Boring, crap, legacy media lies. DOJ gains access to payment system, doling out trillions to Americans. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent approved the move, affecting representatives of Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. Well, there you go. The Treasury Secretary authorized it. He's the one who is in charge. So the Treasury Department has agreed to give Elon Musk's DOJ access to a payment system that distributes trillions of dollars in entitlement benefits, grants, and tax refunds to Americans each year. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was confirmed by the Senate and green-lighted the move to grant Doge representatives access to the system, again, typically run by career civil servants. You're out of there, 3 strikes, you're out, and get out. I just love reading this. And when I'm reading the mainstream media, or the legacy media's lies, I love reading how much they are hating every second of this. Buy the dip and sell the rips. I'm loving this. It's a great time to be an American. Is it perfect? No. Have we accomplished everything that we want to accomplish? No. Have we accomplished a lot of things we want to accomplish? Yes. Is it a beautiful thing? Yes. Are there some things that I don't like and don't agree with and don't appreciate that's happening right now in the administration? Sure. But I knew, I baked that in. I priced that in. I knew that I wasn't going to get everything that I wanted out of this administration. I knew that some of the things that were going to happen were going to affect me directly and my business and my ability to earn money for my family. And I knew that was a possibility. I wish they wouldn't do it. I'm still going to speak out against it because I believe in free markets and free trade. But, not everybody can afford to buy Kona beans from Hawaii to be able to sell. Now, Folgers and, the big coffee companies, they don't care about the tariffs. They'll be able to pass the cost on the consumer success. But people like myself who already can't make huge purchases of coffee to be able to sell it in bulk in order to be able to get the prices down to where I can start to capture some of the market of, let's be honest here, poorer people. People like myself, we're the ones who get hurt by tariffs, right? People like myself who are trying to make a living, trying to break out of the rat race that most people work in, where they get a paycheck every 2 weeks and they do a W-2 and they know they don't have to worry about their taxes because they don't have thousands of transactions or microtransactions to worry about. It's people like myself who run small businesses, who sell coffee, who have to buy beans from places like Colombia and Guatemala and Africa and places like that where most of the coffee is made. The people are like, oh, you got tariffs, just buy American. Okay, well, and what's funny too is that you get a lot of people who they sell coffee, like Tim Pool, for example, over the weekend. It's like, oh, we got to buy American. And it's like, bro, I know your coffee is not all Hawaiian Kona bean coffee. Okay. Right. So what are you going to do? Tim, are you going to eat the cost of the increase of the 25% increase or whatever, 10% increase or whatever it's going to be for the increase of the price of beans from Colombia or Guatemala or Nicaragua? Probably not. I'm going to just try and pass it on to consumers. But how much more money could I charge for the box of coffees that we sell, the Founding Flavors coffee? You can't really charge much more than we're charging right now because we're pretty much at the high end of coffee. And, it's just, I remember back a couple of months ago when Stephanie and I were looking at buying a car. We ended up buying our minivan. Thank God we did. And I was, Stephanie is notoriously very, very, very conservative. She's very frugal, right? And I'm more of we got to take risks. We have to invest money. We have to spend money to make money. That's just the kind of attitude that I have when it comes to money. But about a couple of months ago, I was like, Stephanie, we probably need to buy a car as soon as we can because we really needed one. We couldn't fit everything in the Subaru. We got the baby. We can't fit like one other person in the car. And if we want to go home for Christmas, we can't even take any of our Christmas presents home. We've got to get a new vehicle. And she's like, no. And I'm like, listen, as much as I love what Donald Trump is going to do and what he says he's going to do, the fact is that he is threatening tariffs, and that affects working families like us who are trying to make a living. And so I said, Stephanie, let's buy a car. And I remember posting at the time, I was like, does anybody have advice about cars? I'm trying to buy one before the tariffs kick in. And they're like, well, just buy an American car. I'm like, you motherfucker. I'm like, what's an American car? And they're like Teslas. So I'm like, so your advice is the same advice that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said to us a few years ago, except for different reasons. Hers was for climate change. Yours is just buy a Tesla. It's an American-made car. Like, it's only like 70% of it is made in the United States. Well, that's how they say that's an American made. The government says it's American made. I'm like, yeah, well, the ATF says that an 81% lower is a firearm and you can't even shoot anything with it. It's not, how is it a firearm if it doesn't actually operate, right? So you make an 80% lower, but once it's 81%, all of a sudden it's a firearm. No, it's none of the government's goddamn business where I choose to buy merchandise from and sell it. If it's like, if two people are in a transaction and both of them are like, oh, this is a good deal for me, I will engage it. Like if one party consents and the other party consents, then the transaction happens. But then when the third party, the government, or all the economically illiterate a-holes, right, come in and are like, I don't consent to that transaction. Well, it's none of your goddamn business. It's none of your goddamn business, right? You 2-week check pulling W2 posting motherfuckers. You don't know what it's like to run a business. You don't know what it's like. I compete against Amazon. I compete against Shein. I compete against Temu. And all these tariffs do is make it harder for people like myself to be able to put food on the table, diapers on my baby's ass, powder on their bottom, except not talcum powder because that's now been restricted and they say just use baby oil. But there you go. So how many, Austin doesn't get that many foreign cars are manufactured in the U.S. No, they're not. There are no foreign cars that are entirely manufactured in the U.S. There are no American cars that are entirely manufactured in the U.S. The only things that are entirely manufactured in the U.S. are a few nuts and bolts, maybe a little bit of wood here and there. Everything else depends on supply chain. I know you guys are all smarter than Milton Friedman. Like, I know you guys have all come up with, listen, I know you guys have cracked the code and Thomas Sowell is now an idiot, right? Rather than last week, Thomas Sowell was going to get the Presidential Medal of Freedom. This week, he's a retard when it comes to tariffs. Okay. But here's the thing. If you read a book called iPencil, some of the tariff supporters should probably not start with iPencil. Might be too many big words. However, Julie Borowski wrote a book, a children's book. It's called Nobody Knows How to Make a Pizza. And it's a child's version of iPencil, right? Because if you don't know how a pencil is made, start with pizza, right? I like pizza, Steve. So read, I highly recommend the children's book, Nobody Knows How to Make a Pizza, and then work your way up to Milton Friedman's iPencil so that you can understand that there are no things that are made in America. There are no things that are made in Guatemala. We all rely on the global supply chain for the things that bring us our bread and butter on a daily basis. Fuck tariffs. But, tariffs suck, but everything else in the administration is going great. I love it. The death of DEI, everything the Democrats thought they believed in turned out to be deeply toxic and unpopular. DEI racism, radical gender ideology that mutilates kids, censorship, and unchecked illegal immigration. Now the Democrats face a dilemma. The Republicans have claimed the common sense position on all of these issues. If Democrats attempt to pivot away from their unpopular stances, they're left with little to offer that doesn't already align with the Republican platform. Adopting Republican positions on these issues would require acknowledging that Republicans were right, which of course undermines their identity as opposition. In effect, Democrats have boxed themselves in. Their self-inflicted ideological collapse has left them without a coherent alternative, and it will likely take many years for them to recover. Blue Trike says, you're being annoying today, constantly insulting your own viewers. It's okay to disagree with this, but to constantly insult us to our faces, I'm not sure the point is. Blue Trike, you can never trust a host who doesn't sometimes take his own audience to task. Do you think that Moses always told the Israelites that everything they were doing was fine and beautiful and wonderful? Or did he sometimes have to lay down the law on the Israelites? Right? Why, Moses, do you have to tell us not to kill? Thou shalt not steal, Moses. Don't you think you ought to be a little nicer about it? No. Sometimes you got to bend your wife over your thing, metaphorically speaking, and give her a little spanking on the bottom. But here's the thing, if you have an influencer and who never calls out their own people when they're wrong, that's the sign of a grifter. Okay, right? And I'm willing to keep my audience small if my audience is willing to hear the truth, the painful truth, even when they don't like it. And if I'm willing to tell you that, it's a sign that you can trust me. If you can't get over the emotionality of being called out over an issue, which I feel very strongly and deeply and passionately about, and with which I've free trade is one of the issues that I'm actually really strong on. There's some things that I'm not very strong on in terms of policy-wise, but I actually worked at a free trade institute for a while and focused in on that area of policy. So it's one of the things I know about. I will say that you're going to have to just put up with the fact that I'm not with you on this issue, and I'm going to be very strongly, passionately. I'm going to be quite spiky about it. And if it bothers you very deeply, please just remember that it's the sign of a non-grifter. We're going to speak, and it's going to be even more painful because John Milton is going to come on. We're going to rag on the tariff supporters even harder. So it's about to get worse. So if you can't take it and you want to come back tomorrow, I completely understand. But again, somebody who would say something like that, remember, is somebody who wouldn't lie to you. So put that all together and put it in your pipe and smoke it. Speaking of Democrats and their lack of a coherent message, the Democratic National Convention met over the weekend. And if you thought that they were going to come up with a plan to beat the Republicans, well...
Hello, Democrats. Hey, I am speaking, and I would love your attention. There is a black woman at this podium, and I deserve your attention like the 11 people who went before me. Yes,
Blue Trike, bye-bye. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. Bye, guys. Listen, the thing is that, you know, if you cannot tolerate being disagreed with vehemently, passionately, right? If you feel like I'm talking down to you, like I understand. I am talking down to people who are advocating for tariffs because it's economic illiterate. It's the D students trying to lecture to the people who paid attention in class, right? It's not, there's no intellectual arguments for tariffs benefiting the American people in any way, shape, or form. They've never worked and they never will. And if that strikes you as condescending, it's because it is. It's like when the person who never paid attention in class comes and deigns to lecture you, right? And then don't be mad when the kids who pay attention in class start to school you and spank you.
I am speaking.
Good evening, Democrats. Look up here. 3 strong black women standing before you. 3 black women who, rather than just grabbing a chair, ran for chair.
Te quiero mucho, Papa. Gracias por todo. My name is Artie Blanco, Freddie Blanco's daughter. Vote for me for vice chair.
Look at this room, y'all. Truly take it in. This is the Democratic Party. We are our strongest when we stand together.
We are in a time in this country when our democracy and our rights are under attack. We're at a time where black and brown people, women, and other minorities are being blamed for everything that's wrong with this country. So let's fight together for a stronger, inclusive Democratic Party. Good afternoon, DNC!
Let me say something. Over the last several days, we've seen what happens when we have the wrong people in powerful places. And so today, I ask for your support and electing me as your DNC vice chair because in a time of crisis, leadership matters.
My people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. We are sick and tired of being the last one hired and the first one fired. We are sick and tired of the...
I've spent the last 15 years fighting for the American people, all 340 million of them.
Work to do to organize, show up, and win. And that is why I'm asking the people who have stood with me in this ride, because you know the work that I do to protect the vote.
These are the Democratic National Convention candidates for the officer candidate elections.
Okay, great. It's even on gender right now.
It's evenly split.
Yes.
So.
I'm so sorry. Hi, Brad Tunley, former parliamentarian for the city of Utah. I do have a question, parliamentary query, for the chair, if she would. What happens? So that's assuming that that so few candidates get 0 that we can sustain 6 additional losses on top of that. What happens if we have 8 candidates who get 0 on this round? Do we have to eliminate those 6, or would they be eligible again on a subsequent round? So what happens if we?
So it's 4. So
it's down to 4.
0.
Right,
but
what happens if 8 people get 0 and then we eliminate 4, then we've eliminated 12?
The Democrats are a mess. So the Democratic National Convention over the weekend. This feels like a parody skit.
And we'll begin with the opening statements. Each candidate will have 30 seconds, and we'll start with Dr. Quintessa Hathaway.
Good evening, everyone. It is my desire to be the next DNC chair. And I just want to give you all a little bit of something that's been on my heart here over the last couple of days. You fight on, you fight on, you fight on, you fight on. When your government is doing you wrong, you fight on, oh, you fight on.
I guess not every black person can sing. Boo. That was terrible. If you're gonna sing, all right, guys, settle down. Are you booing me or are you booing the black woman? You're booing me for tariffs. There you go. There's a boo. There's a boo from Blutreich.
Ja, det træsigt for. Tror jeg glinde eneste.
What the hell?
Welcome. The Democratic National Committee wishes to acknowledge that we gather together to state our values on lands that have been stewarded through many centuries by the ancestors and the descendants of tribal nations who have been here since time immemorial. We honor the communities native to this continent and recognize that our country was built on indigenous lands and hope.
See, it's so funny. The Democrats always, so they started off the DNC with a land acknowledgement on how the United States is sitting on stolen land. But here's the thing. They never give back their land, right? Ben and Jerry's did this, for example, where they put out a post talking about, Indigenous Peoples Day, on Columbus Day. And then Fox News came in and started reporting and asking them, why don't you guys give up your land? I mean, there was a Native American tribe who said that they had claim to land that Ben & Jerry's was using for one of their ice cream factories. And they asked them to give it back, and Ben & Jerry's didn't respond. They didn't give back their land. So it's stolen land, but the Democrats own on this land, and they're not going to give the money back. It's not going to happen. But I see Quantum Kitty. She's talking about the way that I'm talking about tariffs and the way that I'm talking to people who are in favor of tariffs. Well, you see, you have to understand that the amount of condescension and arrogance of the people who are in favor of tariffs is being met pound for pound from people like myself and others who have done their homework on the issue, right? Because the problem with the people who are advocating for tariffs is that it's very much, it's like the way we treat Democrats when they advocate for big government, Kilsharian. It's like, how do we treat Democrats when they say things like, well, we need an income tax and we need US aid. And, it's very condescending the way that they advocate for big government. So when Republicans are advocating for big government and statism and taxes, which is what this is, big government, statism, and taxes, right? We should treat the advocates of big government the same we do as we treat the advocates of big government on the left, right? Because tariffs are, of course, big government. And this is only going to get worse. I just want to warn everybody that if you're a big lover, if you're a big fan of tariffs, if you're a big fan of cracking down on small businesses like myself, you should understand that a person like myself, who stands to be harmed by the economic policies that people are proposing for tariffs, that it's going to get a little spiky. And if you still want to, if you want to like tariffs and you still want to like me, I would suggest the next 30 minutes that you tune out, because John Milton and I are going to go through it, and we're both free market guys, and it's not going to be fun. And, I don't want to lose friends over it, right? I don't want you to feel insulted if that's how you feel. But I am going to insult people who are in favor of big government. I always have, and I always will. And I just want to, and I still want to be friends. But if somebody's advocating for statism, they shall receive a tongue lashing, right? They shall. So and again, I know it's not fun to disagree about things, and it's not fun to not hear your opinion read back to you in somebody else's voice, but I'm going to be very, 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 very mean to people who are advocating for tariffs, okay? We're going to talk about them. And if you want to come in and you want to battle with me, that's fine. Stick around, right? If you've got the cojones to do so. But if you're sensitive and you're delicate and you want to still like me and not hear me say libertarian things, all right, for the next 30 minutes, then maybe come back tomorrow. I'm just warning you, because the next 30 minutes with John Milton is going to be quite painful for tariff fans, okay? All right, you probably agree with me on 90% of the issues, but not this issue. And if you don't, that's okay. We don't have to agree on everything. But I am mean to people who want to put taxes on me, because that's what American patriots do. And I'm a motherfucking, well, we'll let you decide. We'll be right back on the Wake Up America show.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. We're glad and thankful to have you here. I'm AP. Make sure you click the like button and subscribe to the channel by clicking follow as well if today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show. I am a big fan of a lot of what the Donald Trump administration is doing. The Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, hard at work, hacking and slashing. But when I signed up to support Donald Trump, I knew that there were some things that I wouldn't like that the Trump administration would be doing. And if you like absolutely everything that the Trump administration is doing, then, well, prepare to be disappointed in the next segment. I'm just giving you fair warning because I hate taxes. And I see people saying things like, well, tariffs are American as apple pie. Well, so is the income tax. And if you love the Constitution, the income tax is constitutional. Income tax is as American as apple pie. No. Income taxes, import taxes, corporate taxes, sales taxes. They say things like, oh, well, if you don't want to pay the import taxes, if you don't want to pay tariffs, just don't buy things from overseas. Just buy American. Okay, well, if you don't want to pay property taxes, just don't buy property. There you go. You don't want to pay real estate taxes? Just don't buy property. You know, it makes a lot of sense. But somehow, some way, they've managed to find a way around the economic thinking of Milton Friedman and Thomas Sowell. You know, it's incredible. All of these Twitter scholars who have come out of the woodwork these days to refute the evidence of the man that they all think deserves the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Joining us now to discuss is a man who hates taxes as much as I do, maybe even more. John Miltimore from the American Institute of Economic Research on the Wake Up America show. How you doing, John?
Doing great, AP. How about you?
Doing good, bud. Nice to see you. So 25% tariff on Canada. I'm not a big drinker of Canadian rye, but I do like some Mexican food, and 25% taxes on Mexico, but only 10% on China. I guess it's probably because the tariffs we already have on them are pretty dang high. But your reaction to the trade war that's broken out today that's killing our portfolios over in the stock market?
Yeah, I don't know what Trump's thinking. You know, as far as the economics go, this is pretty clear. It's a massive tax increase. It's going to be borne by consumers and small businesses and big businesses. And government coffers will grow because of this. You know, people have been asking me about its inflationary impact. I don't think that will be huge. I think there's pretty good research. It might be, you know, affect it in a small way. But the bottom line, this is a huge tax increase, and this isn't something that this economy needs right now, and we're seeing it. There's been a massive global sell-off in equities, a massive sell-off in crypto. My only, you know, the most charitable explanation for this, I think, is like a political one, that Trump is playing some master game of trying to overwhelm and confuse his opponents, and that this is, you know, like even people I think that know the economics of this and have said these would be very damaging, have said that they want to keep the tariff gun loaded, that it's going to be there as a threat. Well, we're seeing this isn't just a loaded gun. What we're firing the gun now, and it's going to cause a lot of economic damage. It could lead to a massive trade war. We're seeing other countries retaliate already. So my hope is we're going to see the Trump, you know, team claim victory in a couple of weeks and say, you know, we already got countries to come around. They're being very vague. This is one thing, and I mentioned this off air. They're not saying all Canada has to do to get this lifted is this, or all Mexico has to do is this. They're being very vague in saying what these countries can do to make these tariffs go away and to get everybody, you know, trading again. And my hunch is that the reason for that is because my hope is, I should say more than my hunch, is that they're going to claim victory here soon and say that Mexico and Canada and China fell into line, and now we're trading again happily because we got all these concessions.
So I posted a quote this morning from Thomas Sowell. People are saying that I'm misquoting Thomas Sowell, but I mean, I pulled it straight from his words. He said that the Smoot-Hawley tariffs of 1930 had a lot more to do with the Great Depression than the stock market. Unemployment was nowhere near as low the first year after the stock market as it was in the first 5 months after those tariffs went in. Is Mr. Sowell incorrect? Is that a misquote, or?
I think Mr. Sowell's correct, and I'll say I think your quote of him, there's no context missing in that I'm aware of. You know, this was a response that deepened the recession, the depression, I should say. This is something you can go back and listen to Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like this is such a, like, in economic history, this is so we hear Ben Stein droning on about this. This is exactly, you know, what happened. We had an economic crisis and you know, passed these tariffs and made it much worse. You know, it helped cost Hoover the election, and what happened then we got FDR and really, you know, then things really got out of control when FDR, who kind of, people forget, FDR ran as he wasn't running on protectionism, he wasn't running on the New Deal at the time. He was, you know, much more, he was using language, talking about things like tax cuts. And then when he got in power, of course, he did something differently. But we're seeing a lot of economic incoherence right now. And I think these are, if you listen to Pete Navarro and things, I don't know, even the language they're coming up to defend this is you know, really bizarre to me. And we're saying it's about fentanyl and things like this. You know, I don't like fentanyl coming into the country either, but what are we doing to stop it? We can't, maybe there's political points to score here and say it's all Mexico's fault that we have drugs coming in. But what have we been doing the last 8 years to really clamp down on drug importation?
I don't really, but here's the thing: I don't really buy the argument that this is about fentanyl. I think
no, I don't.
I think the fentanyl thing is like, the way to win an argument in DC is to find victims of like any kind of like, oh, there's a peanut allergy. A kid died from a peanut allergy. Go find a parent from a kid who died from a peanut allergy so you can justify banning peanuts in all of schools, right? So you want to do this because, you don't like peanuts or whatever. It's a seed oil or some shit. And then you say, oh, look, how can you be against? Like I saw this morning, there was this parent who was brought out who was like, my child died from fentanyl, so we need tariffs on Canada so that we can prevent the fentanyl. I'm like, there you go. Wheel out the parent from the dead kid. There you go to get the agenda passed. But I don't buy that it's about fentanyl, right? It's not about fentanyl.
I do not either. When you want tariffs, you're going to find anything you can to justify them. We see the same thing, exactly what you're talking about with China. Anytime you oppose something, they say, well, you want China to win? Do you want China stronger? We're seeing that. Or in Ukraine, like, do you support Putin? We find these ridiculous arguments when people want something. They'll find whether it's drugs or Putin or China, make those arguments. But no, I don't think for a minute this is about fentanyl.
No, I think it's about here's the thing, and the best argument that I've heard for the tariffs is not any economic argument, right? Like the economic arguments that they make are all retarded. But the arguments that are made that Canada is imposing them on us and that Trump is trying to essentially show the world that, hey, listen, the United States is getting screwed on trade. We get like 100% tariff laid on us in Europe. You can't sell General Motor cars in Europe. And he's absolutely right about that. And we have every right to be outraged about that when other countries do this to us. But, what's the best argument you could say in response to that? I think it's worthwhile for us to try and find some leverage that we can use against other countries that are certainly not being fair or free trading with us at all, John, right?
My argument with that is if European leaders want to make their citizens pay more for U.S. cars, I guess that's on them, right? Like, I don't use that to justify our own tariffs here. But yeah, you're right. Like, that's the most charitable explanation you can find is that Trump really doesn't believe in tariffs, but he wants us, trading on an equal playing field. But the further we go down this road, I don't think that is true. What I think we're seeing is Trump wants to use tariffs to make his political enemies hurt a little bit. He wants to make Justin Trudeau and Canadians pay more. I think he wants to screw his enemies a little bit. I think he wants to empower weight around.
He may actually make Justin Trudeau more popular because
that's the scary part. Like Trudeau's the least popular leader I can think of globally. There might be some out there, but he's floundering. Something like this is going to give Canadians they're going to suddenly, when they're paying more for everything, they're suddenly their Trump hatred is going to surpass their Trudeau hatred.
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, John: is it a problem that here in the United States that you can't manufacture something completely that made in America products that people aren't buying made in America products and people aren't hiring Americans to create American jobs, to create the products that Americans are buying every day? Isn't that a problem here? And won't tariffs prevent people from being able to buy products from overseas so that we can build American industries? To give the tariff proponents, the big government proponents their due, wouldn't it be better for our economy if more Americans had jobs and were buying American?
No, I think the easy answer here is no. We don't mind. Maybe some people really do want to buy their their phone it's built in America, where every component in there is American. And if you want to pay $8,500 for your phone and do that, maybe there's a market for that. I don't think there is. No, trading with other countries is good for everyone. We want people buying American products in Sweden and in Ukraine and in Peru as well. And we want to buy things from them. The more we get governments involved in this, the more you're going to be paying These kind of things don't empower consumers; they empower governments, and that's exactly what we're doing. The Republican Party for a very long time had been the free trade party. We're going now to this traditionally protectionism has been all the Democrats' turf. I think Trump does see political opportunity there.
It's a communist policy.
Yes, we do not need these things, and this is a step backwards. This isn't about America being strong. Trade with other countries is good for all of us.
Tariffs didn't make the Soviet Union rich, right? It didn't make Cuba rich. Tariffs have never made anyone rich, other than a very, very, very small few already wealthy cronies who managed to get the law written in their favor to benefit them, and they don't necessarily pass the interest on to the people whose jobs that they're supposed to be protecting. Because with the tariff doesn't come a law that says, well, the corporations that are benefiting from this have to give better wages and hire more people in the American industry. They don't necessarily have to do that. A lot of them sometimes take the money and run. They just go around and make higher salaries for their corporate executives and their CEOs. So the distributed cost that goes to all of us paying it, and then the concentrated benefits don't even go to the factory workers that are supposed to get it. Sometimes they still get laid off. So it's
Exactly right. And if you look, our allies around the world, they will find trade partners that will trade with them if we do this. Like we even before these tariffs, we saw countries like Japan that were already starting to make deals with countries like Brazil instead of the U.S. For importing beef because some of the crazy antics going on here. This is going to hurt producers here in the United States, and we're playing with fire here. It looks like a cute political game, but there's going to be real costs. And like I said, my hope is with Trump Team Trump declares victory here and comes up with all kinds of concessions they got from Canada and Mexico, and these tariffs are going away. If not, there's going to be a lot of pain, and it won't just be Canadians and Mexicans and Chinese. It'll be Americans as well who are going to be paying a lot more for goods.
Does anybody know how to make a pizza, John? Or maybe to use a reference that you might be familiar with, what about like pencils? I mean, there's plenty of wood. There's plenty of graphene here in the United States. Is graphene, graphite? What is it we use to make pencils?
Graphite.
Graphite. Pencils. We can make pencils here in the United States, right?
Well, I'd like to see you try. This is a great, and I of course know what you're doing. The great, Milton Friedman, popularized, Leonard Reed's iPencil. I before I even read iPencil, I saw Milton Reed do his video on it. And it's a wonderful point. Like, pick up a pencil someday, look at it, and tell me where does this eraser come from? Where does this little piece of metal on here? All the things that go into a pencil, you can't even find where all that stuff came from. It's really a miracle of the market that brings all this together. It's not a miracle of central planning. These are market forces that allocate these resources and allow us to get a pencil. I don't know what the going rate is for a pencil if it's 45 cents today or whatever. But it's something we don't even think about. But if you asked a bunch of bureaucrats in Washington to try to say, okay, go put your pencil together, it'd be wonderful. Whether it was just done in America or even if they could import from other countries, they'd spend 6 months trying to figure out how to manufacture that pencil.
Mm-hmm. So the thing about the question of international trade, it's kind of like, Americans are very superstitious people. And so they kind of, when people like us talk about things like the invisible hand of the market, a lot of people kind of see that almost like voodoo or witchcraft. They don't really understand the benefits that come from international trade because it's not the kind of thing that's immediately obvious. But I mean, all we're really doing is sort of drawing on the knowledge of people like Adam Smith and Milton Friedman and Thomas Sowell, who have written extensively on this topic, right? And it's not to say necessarily that you can't, you have to trust the experts. Milton Friedman and Thomas Sowell can be wrong just as much as anybody else. But typically, if you're disagreeing with those men about the things that they're right about, like, it's not a good bet to bet against Thomas Sowell or Milton Friedman on these things, wouldn't you say?
Well, they know their stuff, and you can go and find other economists that aren't necessarily Like you can find Paul Krugman has written, about some great stuff on free trade. This is when you allow trade to happen, resources are going to flow to where they're most valued, and this creates all kinds of miracles around us and it's a process that you can't track, and it's one that's very difficult to understand. But it's a lesson I do love because it does show. It makes us humble. Like again, if you had a department, pick your department in DC and said, okay, go give us this pencil. You'd have a bunch of guys that might say, okay, I can do that. I'm going to start ordering these things and doing an investigation to find out how to do this. And there'd be all these frustrations trying to do that. It's humbling that this is a process that we really don't understand and that we can't explain. That this eraser, well, does that come from Malaysia? Well, yeah, but it's using ingredients over here, from Bangladesh as well. All of this is humbling because it's this process that is a little bit like voodoo, that it just happens on its own when we get government out of the way and let people swap things. And there's some great stuff on YouTube about this, where you see people that have you seen some of these, how they just by trading up, they start with something like a Super Bowl. And they just start trading with people, and suddenly they end up with a Lamborghini.
Oh
or something.
yeah, that's fun.
And there's a great lesson there, and some of that is like people just want to be on TV and so forth. But by just trading things, you can all these things happen when you start putting tariffs on things. When you start to block trade, it affects the market in ways that we can't even understand.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm going to make a really weird comparison here, but this sort of reminds me of this meme that I saw years ago, where it shows these two people, where it's like an older man and a younger woman, and they're in like a mutually, consensual relationship. They're both adults, right? But she's like, 21 and he's like 40 or something like that, and they're dating, and it shows them as saying, the man says, I consent, and the girl says, I consent. And then there's this kind of like school marm looking lady who doesn't like the age gap, and she's looking at them and she says, I don't consent here in that relationship. And tariffs are kind of like that. If I decide to buy Colombian coffee beans to sell my delicious Founding Flavors coffee, and I look at the Colombian manufacturer and I say, okay, well, that's pretty pricey, but I consent, and I consent. And people who are in favor of tariffs are kind of like the lady who doesn't consent to the right. Like, I don't consent. Well, it's really none of their business, is it, John?
It's a great metaphor. No, that's exactly right. Like, we don't need, who cares if you're buying beans in Colombia instead of, I don't even know where they grow coffee in the United States, probably in a lot of different places.
There's only one place you can buy coffee in the United States, and that is Hawaii Kona beans, and they're not good.
That makes sense.
And they're very expensive. And you know what the funny thing is too, John, is that not to be like too much nerds talking down to people or anything. My audience is really mad at me this morning about this, especially going on this topic. So I'm really looking forward to talking about something else, so they can be mad at me about something else. But in regards to like the whole tariff situation, it's just kind of like, in terms of like what people can consent to, it's like, you're supposed to be doing like your patriotic duty or something like that and buying these American things, but they're like, oh, these corporations are trying to avoid taxes, going in these third world stuff like that. Good. Like I have always been a big fan of tax avoidance. Like I'm not an anarchist, but like the whole point of like the black market is because when you outlaw something, on one hand, like, people are going to find a way around it. But these tariffs, all they really kind of do is screw the people who aren't able to go around, the tariffs or pay them. And it's really just the small businesses that mostly are the ones who get screwed by this. Some businesses will be harmed, but in reality, most businesses, what do? They just pass the costs on to the people who are in favor of tariffs, right? Oh, you're in favor of tariffs? Yep. Okay, well, we're just going to charge you higher prices, because that's all we're going to do. We're just going to raise prices on everybody.
There's a much easier way to bring businesses back to the United States, and it doesn't involve tariffs. It does involve things like reducing the tax burden, reducing the regulatory framework, and not that other countries don't have worse, they do. But companies don't want to have to deal with all these, when you factor in some of these states and the federal tax rate, I know some of those were cut. They're still paying an enormous part of their profits, aren't going to them or their shareholders, or they're going to the government. And that would be a far better way to bring businesses back here. Of course, you got labor laws and things like that could also, help that. But we can fix some of these problems. There's a lot better solutions than tariffs. If you look at what had been driving out, a lot of these companies, they were seeking places where they could do business, a lot less expensively, and we have ways that they can do that here. But yeah, this is going to cause all kinds of problems for Americans. We're going to see prices go up. Again, my hope is this is a loaded gun being pointed versus people that actually believe in this tariffs. I will say this. If you listen to the Trump people, there's a lot of people in the Trump administration that understand this is bad policy. Now, hopefully they can get in the ear of the right people and kind of pull the plug on some of these things, so this isn't something that we're looking at over the next 2 or 4 years.
Yeah, no, completely. John, is there anything else on this topic that you'd like to share with us before we let you go today?
Nothing here. Check out our content at aier.org. We got a couple news stories up there right now, including one. There's one, something might be worth talking about next week, Austin, is the Supreme Court may take another look at Kelo, that awful, decision from, gosh, what year was that? Was it 2000? But anyway, the one that really put eminent domain on steroids. There's some, they're going to have another opportunity to go at that, which would be great to see.
There we go. That is Milton Friedman himself, ladies and gentlemen. John Milton Friedman Moore. Anything else you want to share with our audience before I let you go, like a plug or Substack?
Yeah, I'm on Substack, The Take by John Miltimore. Other than that, Austin, have yourself a great week.
Okay, you too, John. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you again really soon. Take care. Have a great one.
The basic principles underlying the free market, as Adam Smith taught them to his students in this university, are really very simple.
Look at this lead pencil. There's not a single person in the world who could make this pencil. Remarkable statement? Not at all. The wood from which it's made, for all I know, comes from a tree that was cut down in the state of Washington. To cut down that tree, it took a saw. To make the saw, it took steel. To make the steel, it took iron ore. This black center, we call it lead, but it's really graphite, compressed graphite. I'm not sure where it comes from, but I think it comes from some mines in South America. This red top up here, the eraser, bit of rubber, probably comes from Malaya, where the rubber tree isn't even native. It was imported from South America by some businessmen with the help of the British government. This brass ferrule, I haven't the slightest idea where it came from, or the yellow paint, or the paint that made the black lines, or the glue that holds it together. Literally thousands of people cooperated to make this pencil. People who don't speak the same language, who practice different religions, who might hate one another if they ever met. When you go down to the store and buy this pencil, you are in effect trading a few minutes of your time for a few seconds of the time of all those thousands of people. What brought them together and induced them to cooperate to make this pencil? There was no commissar sending out orders from some central office. It was the magic of the price system, the impersonal operation of prices that brought them together and got them to cooperate to make this pencil so that you could have it for a trifling sum. That is why the operation of the free market is so essential, not only to promote productive efficiency, but even more, to foster harmony and peace among the peoples of the world.
All right, when we get back, Winston Churchill, was he the primary villain of World War II? We'll talk about all that and more when we get back. I went to the Fulton Winston Churchill Museum over the weekend. We'll share with you all that when we get back on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state! Reject the Antichrist! Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins!
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your Founding Flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.
So I'm very distressed about it. So people want to tell me Churchill's an incredible guy. Really? Well, why didn't he save Western civilization? He didn't even save Poland.
He did.
What did he?
He did save Western
How?
civilization.
How?
He defeated the Nazis.
But I know he helped defeat the Nazis,
Well, the
with his friend Stalin.
The Nazis wanted the whole world to be speaking
I'm not
German.
defending the Nazis. I'm just saying, where is Western civilization? What did he preserve? Where is it? I don't know where it is.
Churchill died the year before I was born. Oh, the same year, actually.
He died in 63, I
60,
think.
65.
65.
I think about a month before I was born. It was a natural succession. But the
but the question is, like, where's the victory? I don't understand. Like, everyone wants to yell at you for not loving Churchill. Okay,
well, hang on,
show me the victory.
Well, yeah, but we're
no, it's a theoretical victory.
It's odd. Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. We're glad and thankful to have you here. Make sure to click that like button if you haven't done so already. Oh, was the volume not so loud on that one? Don't worry, I'll play the clip again. Turn it way up for you guys. Good morning, free market. Looking very good, very affordable.
Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice.
Bruce Burtwhistle, Luke Sacker, Euphoric, Mind Art, Luke's Jose MMA are all of our friends over in the chat. Mongoose 87, Frickety. What is happening there? Nice to see everybody getting along. Cecilia, we're so thankful to have all of our friends joining us here live on the Wake Up America show. Real quick, guys, for those of you who are going to the Wake Up America show, we just got another new friend joining us over the weekend. Yes. Good news and bad news. Good news for us, bad news for some who are going on the trip. We did sell out the private dinner engagement with me, Stephanie, and Hazel, so it's gone. What are you talking about? Private dinner. So just real quick, for those who aren't aware, so I'm taking a trip of Liberty lovers to Washington, D.C., May 1st through the 3rd. And it's going to be an awesome trip. We've already got a bunch of people who have signed up. Someone says your volume is too loud. When John was on, his was much louder than mine, and the brakes are very loud. Okay, well let me crank up. How about that? I'll crank up my microphone there for you. Let me know if that's better, Mind Art. I appreciate the feedback there, by the way. I don't have a producer, so it's just me hitting. See that over there, hitting that fader button. So you sometimes there we go. How's that? Good. There we go. The APDC tour, May 1st through the 3rd. We have sold out our upgrade for it. That is awesome. Yes, so the private dinner is gone. So very excited for that. And you can see over here that the Liberty Tour, May 1st to the 3rd, does have some upgrades. And we do have a limit for the number of packages. There used to be 4 items here. Now there's only 3 because once we sold out the private dinner, it's gone, and that's going to be us and member of our group bringing their family. We're really excited about that. Stephanie and Hazel and I hanging out with them at Chadwick's. But we do still have some more opportunities to hang out semi-privately for a live recording of the Wake Up America show with me, AP, on the tour. If you would like to join us for a live recording of the show, then you can buy that as an upgrade. And Austin, why can't we just like go and hang out and watch you record the show? Well, because the more people that want to come, the bigger the venue that I need. So that's why it's an upgrade rather than just part of the tour, because I'm going to need a bigger and bigger space the more people that want to come hang out. And we have had a couple of people do that. We have had a couple of people do that already. So the more people that come, the more it grows, the bigger space I need to do the Wake Up America show that Friday morning. And we have, of course, sold a couple of our merch package upgrades as well. But if you just want to go with us on the tour, it's going to be an incredible tour. We've already got, I think, about 10 groups booked. AP's DC Liberty Tour. Right now, we still do have the buy one, get one sale going on, I think, for another, I think it goes till the end of February. And then once March hits, then there'll be no more buy one, get one. We want to encourage people to go ahead and get signed up as soon as possible. And boy, are people signing up. We're going to have an absolutely fantastic trip over in Washington, D.C. So if you'd like to join me, Stephanie, and Hazel for a fun behind-the-scenes tour of Washington, D.C., we're going to go do a Capitol tour. We're going to meet with Congressman Dr. Bob Onder, provided he isn't like on a vote or, the Capitol is in danger in a lockdown and they're running away from us in another like January 6th style event. And then that night on Thursday night, I'm going to take you to my favorite Peruvian chicken joint in Ballston, Virginia. So we'll leave after the Capitol, we'll go into Virginia and we'll eat Peruvian chicken. It's delicious. On Friday, we're going to go to the U.S. History Museum, and if time, we'll do the Jefferson Memorial. And Friday morning, is a live recording of the Wake Up America show as an optional add-on upgrade. And then, of course, the private dinner, which is already gone and sold. So I'll take that off of there because that's already been sold. And on Saturday, the big day, I'm so excited, guys. Revolutionary War weekend at Mount Vernon, Virginia. It's going to be fantastic. Mount Vernon, May 1st to the 3rd. Yeah, Revolutionary War weekend at Mount Vernon. So we get to see Revolutionary War reenactments. We get to see military drills, visit with camp followers. They're rebuilding George Washington's tent, just like it was on the battlefield that day. It's going to be a fantastic weekend. Reenactors and George Washington's tent. Revolutionary War weekend, May 1st to the 3rd, and theirs is May 3rd and 4th. So we'll be there on Saturday. Revolutionary War weekend. It's gonna be awesome. And after this trip, guys, the next place that we're gonna go is to Argentina. We're gonna go visit Javier Milei. So if you guys want to join us there, you can do so. You can do so by booking your tickets at forlibertyshop.com.
Your staff, after the crisis was over, you went and spoke with them. It was a highly emotional situation. You remember?
Oh, I remember well.
He's talking about January 6th.
That, yeah, I remember what it told.
That emotion turned to...
Are you sure? Was that emotion? Wait a minute. Hold on. They're asking him about the time that January 6th happened, Mitch McConnell. They're asking him about January 6th and him talking to his staff after the events of January 6th. She's asking him if he remembers what happens. Watch his facial expression, his reactions here.
Your staff, after the crisis was over, you went and spoke with them. It was a highly emotional situation. You remember?
Oh, I remember well.
Do you remember what you told them?
That, yeah, I remember what it told.
I kind of feel as if he doesn't actually remember what he told him.
You said he's nasty. You said he's not very smart. You said he's a sleazeball.
Well, those were private comments, and
Well, but they're in your biography.
yeah.
Those are private comments. Yeah, but those are in your biographies. Talking about Donald Trump there. The Fannings will be there. Yes, they will. It wouldn't be an AP for Liberty tour. Guys, I mean, there's so much amazing good news. I just don't have time to get it all. I'm going to get to the Tucker Carlson, Winston Churchill comments in a moment. Did you see Chuck Todd left NBC News?
Instead of Roger Stone and WikiLeaks, it's Rudy Giuliani and some computer guy in Delaware. So this didn't work, so he'll try another planted story or another, Russian use some other, discredited Russian propaganda. And for those of you spreading misinformation, shame on you. Shame on you. I don't know how some of you sleep at night who are doing this for a living on television. Instead of Roger Stone and WikiLeaks, it's Rudy Giuliani and some computer guy in Delaware. So this didn't work, so he'll try another planted story or another,
That's Chuck Todd on the Biden laptop, and now here he is on spreading misinformation.
Use some other, discredited Russian propaganda. And for those of you spreading misinformation, shame on you. Shame on you. I don't know how some of you sleep at night.
How do you sleep at night, Chuck? Well, not by working at NBC anymore. You're out, baby. You are out. Elon Musk calling out South Africa after U.S. aid was cut for them. And there are racist laws against white farmers in South Africa. Unbelievable amounts of wonderfulness happening with the Department of Government Efficiency and Elon Musk.
Doge has only had an office in the White House for about a week now. And in that time, they have managed to identify over $1 billion of DEI-related government spending. $1 billion. They also found out that about $600 million per year has been spent on sushi from the Pentagon, as well as the Air Force spending $1,280 per paper coffee cup.
$1,280 for a paper coffee cup. All right, and they're mad at Elon for revealing it and cutting it.
And $230,000 per month was being spent by the IRS on Starbucks cinnamon roast K-Cups while everyone was working from home. Doge also found out that payment approval officers at the Treasury were instructed to always approve payments.
Always.
Even if it's for known fraudulent or terrorist groups. They've literally never once denied a payment. And following the discovery of this information, the highest-ranking Treasury official has resigned because he won't comply with a request by Doge for access to an audit where they've spent trillions of dollars per year. The shtick is over. The days of recklessly spending everyone's taxpayer dollars like it's nothing and there's just this big pile of money to pull from, it's over. It's over. Thank God it's over.
You love to see it. If you thought the Democrats were going to move beyond woke, here's a 30-second demonstration of why it's going to be hard.
I'm going to I have a show of hands. How many of you believe that racism and misogyny played a role in Vice President Harris's defeat?
They all think.
Okay.
See, I love that there's one guy who's like, does the half-handsy raisy here?
Misogyny played a role in Vice President Harris's defeat.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
all right. Raise your hands. Look, this is all the Democrats, the Democratic National Convention. How many of you think that racism, misogyny is what played a role in Kamala Harris's defeat? Look at it. Look, like she didn't even, this person here, they didn't even wait for them to finish the question before he agreed. Democrats are done, man. They're cooked. This is the new vice chairman.
You Democrats! In the words of Beyonce, America has a problem, but Democrats, we're about to fix it. God bless you. Thank you so much. Let's get to work. David Hogg.
First of all, thank you, Chairman Harrison. Can we give a round of applause to Jamie? Thank you. Thank you. Who's ready to take the fight to the Republicans and win this thing? Are you guys ready to fight? It's been a long day, but guess what? We have a long road ahead. Let's go and kick some ass.
You Democrats! In the words of the...
This is the new Democratic Party.
The non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female, and the remaining 6 offices must be gender balanced. With the results of the previous 4 elections, our elected officers are currently 2 male and 2 female. In order to be gender balanced, we must elect 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender. So again, this is what we have to do for this vice chair race. We have to elect 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender. To ensure our process accounts for male, female, and non-binary candidates, we conferred with our RBC co-chair, our LGBT caucus co-chair, and others to ensure that the process is inclusive and meets the gender balance requirements in our rules. To do this, our process will be slightly different than the one outlined to you earlier.
I love the layout that they have for all the people here at the DNC. There's Zim, there, her, they, she, his, they, them, Zim, her, they, Zim, he.
But I hope you will see that in practice it is simple and transparent. The order of balloting is designed to ensure equal access to the ballot, regardless of gender identity. As we must elect a candidate of any gender as well as 1 male and 1 female vice chair.
Of any gender as well as 1 female and 1 male. So who are you talking about there? Doesn't 1 female and 1 male include everybody?
First, ask members to elect a candidate of any gender on the first ballot. Any candidate, male, female, and non-binary, can be elected on that ballot. After a candidate is elected on the first ballot, we'll have 1 officer of the 3, so then we will know which position is filled of the 1 male, 1 female, and 1 vice chair of any gender. Our second ballot would also be for a candidate of any gender. Then our third ballot will be the 3rd position that is remaining based on the 2 results. Either a male candidate if a candidate that is not male has not been elected, or a female candidate if a female has not been elected.
These are the people who are leading the resistance to Donald Trump. In other good economic news this morning.
Number 2, when it comes to no taxes on tips and Social Security, the president has made it very clear to our allies on Capitol Hill that is a critical piece of this reconciliation package, and he expects that his tax cuts from 2017, which put a lot more money back into the American people's pockets, those must be implemented, and no tax on tips. The president is intent on delivering on that promise, and he will get it done.
Oof. Send tips, guys. Send your Rumble rants. I just went and checked my stock portfolio this morning. It is not looking good. I bought American companies, guys, but they're just, they're all crashing. This stock market is open and it's already just absolutely bleeding. Yeah. We just started an account for a little baby Hazel too. So there it goes. These are protesters at the DNC. That already agree with them on everything, but they're protesting against them anyway. I just think it's hilarious.
My generation's futures are being destroyed by the climate crisis.
Tonight, young people with the Sunrise Movement forced Democratic Party leadership to reckon with what it actually means to fight for young people.
Look at these retards. They know everything, man. They're like, yes.
And working people across the country.
Raise your hand if you'll get billionaires out of our primary. Raise your hand. Who's raising their hand? None of you
Raise your hand if you're the biggest soy boy here today.
Your hand. Do you all work for billionaires or working people? Do you work for billionaires or young people like me?
They kept naming this great mystery of why young people are leaving the Democratic Party and saying that we needed to solve it with more research and more think tanks.
We don't like them thinking in them tanks. Why are people thinking in tanks anyway?
The reality is the answer is right there. Young people are leaving because we're disillusioned by a party that doesn't actually fight for us.
Good.
Sorry to interrupt, but we need to know what are you going to do to stop
He's pulling the John Fetterman look there, but he knows more than everybody.
Billionaires like Elon Musk from interfering in our democratic processes.
And after we were escorted out of the hearing, the candidates on stage all committed to not take oil and gas money.
Is there anybody on the stage who would take money from oil and gas companies as the
Barney Styles was down at 5% of the open. Yeah, I'm right behind you there. 4% down today on my portfolio.
DNC chair? Okay.
Super PACs and other outside expenditures have played more of a role in politics, and it's become a play toy for billionaires, both in primaries and in general elections. And that is one of the reasons why I want to ban that kind of spending.
A youth movement must rise up here in the United States of America. We've got to make some serious intentional changes.
This is the lady who sang the song earlier. Quite funny. These are the people who are leading the charge against Donald Trump and Doge. This is just a funny video that I found. This is Pete Buttigieg when he got caught pretending to ride his bicycle to work. Here he is. He gets dropped off like a mile from his office from the black SUVs. Here he is, trying to show that he's trying to save money. He rides his bike to work in his suit. Believe me. Derp, 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 derpy, derp, 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 derpy, derp.
So I'm very distressed about it. So people want to tell me Churchill's an incredible guy. Really? Well, why didn't he save Western civilization? He didn't even save Poland.
He did.
What did he?
He did save Western
How?
civilization.
How?
He defeated the Nazis.
But I know he helped defeat the Nazis,
Well, the Nazis
with his friend Stalin.
The Nazis wanted the whole world to be speaking in German.
I'm not defending the Nazis. I'm just saying, where is Western civilization? What did he preserve? Where is it? I don't know where it is.
Churchill died the year before I was born. Oh, the same year, actually.
He died in 63, I think.
65.
65.
I think about a month before I was born. It was a natural succession. But the
but the question is, like, where's the victory? I don't understand. Like, everyone wants to yell at you for not loving Churchill. Okay,
well, hang on,
show me the victory.
Well, yeah, but
it's a theoretical victory. So
where's the victory? Interesting. Yeah, there's been a lot of slander of Winston Churchill these days. Tucker Carlson, apparently not a big fan anymore. It was funny, too, because when this clip came out, it just so happened to coincide with a trip that I made with my father-in-law and my wife and baby over the weekend to the Winston Churchill Museum that's right here in mid-Missouri. So let's learn a little bit about the greatness of Winston Churchill as we go here today, guys. I think you'll appreciate that as we head out the door. Winston Churchill, a little bit of the Winston Churchill Museum. Famous microwaver of theocratic imperialists, Harry S. Truman, introduced, I hope you guys get the joke there, introduced Winston Churchill and gave him an honorary degree right there at Westminster College in Fulton, Missouri. No one ever passed so few examinations and received so few degrees, he said there. Captain Percy Scott in 1899, who just had his butt saved by Winston Churchill, says, "You possess the two necessary qualifications, genius and plod." As the founder of the Royal Naval Air Service, Churchill was so convinced of the importance of airplanes that he actually learned to fly himself until his wife talked him out of continuing because it was quite dangerous then at the time. But speaking of danger, Churchill was not afraid of danger after the disaster of the Dardanelles. That was the Gallipoli campaign in World War I. The Churchill Museum said that Churchill should not have been blamed for Gallipoli, as he was not the originator of the project, and they didn't support the project to try and take Constantinople. Istanbul, not Constantinople. Churchill was fired then during World War I. Then he just requested a small post in France. He was reported to never duck when bullets were flying by. By the time you hear them, they're already long past, he was said. Winston Churchill arrived in France to fight on the front lines in 1916. He often led by example, leading the charge into no man's land. After his unit was depleted, he returned to the fray of Parliament to fight against policy which has seen his comrades butchered needlessly in France. Good day to you, Pulp Fiction buff. I said good day. Winston Churchill predicted 9/11. In the vast deserts of Arabia, there dwell powerful nomadic tribes, at the head of whom the remarkable chief Bin Saud maintains himself. A large number of bin Saud's followers belonging to the Wahhabi sect, a form of Mohammedanism which bears, roughly speaking, the same relation to Orthodox Islam as the most militant form of Calvinism would have borne to Rome in the fiercest times of the religious wars. Calvinism to Rome means Calvinism to Catholicism, when that's what he means when he says Rome. They hold it was an article of duty as well as faith to kill all those who do not share their opinion. The Wahhabis are a distinct factor which must be taken into account, and they have been and still are very dangerous to the hold cities of Mecca and Medina. I got in trouble for taking this picture because I went beyond the barricade so I could take this photograph here. Winston Churchill remarked on the rise of fascism that we cannot afford to see Nazism in its present phase of cruelty and intolerance, with all of its gleaming weapons paramount in Europe. And I just thought this was a cool picture. Although officially discouraged, Allied soldiers could not resist picking up souvenirs that Americans carried home from the battlefields. That's a rare Luger pistol right there. Yes. Oh, and don't forget, 6 million European Jews died in the Holocaust. Some children escaped through aid through their neighbors. In cities, they hid in cellars and attics. In rural barns, sheds, and huts became their refuge. Winston Churchill, Franklin D. Roosevelt, and Joseph Stalin signed the top of this top hat at the Yalta Conference. Churchill and Truman traveled to Fulton, Missouri for the famous speech by train. They played poker and drank whiskey all the way. Winston put down his cards at one point and remarked, "If I were to be born again, there is one country in which I would want to be a citizen. There is one country where a man knows he has an unbounded future, the USA, even though I deplore some of your customs." When asked which customs he deplored, Winston replied, "You stop drinking with your meals." Yes, very big drinker there, Winston Churchill. Here I am sitting at his desk with a glass of whiskey and a cigar, quoting him, saying, "Smoking cigars is like falling in love. First you're attracted to its shape, you stay with it for its flavor, and you must always remember, never let the flame go out." Winston Churchill. There we go. This concludes our tour of the Westminster College Winston Churchill Museum. A little bit about the life and legacy of Winston Churchill. That's all I could do in the time that I had. Here we have our little Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill will sit on the set until everyone remarks upon the greatness of Winston Churchill, the savior of Western civilization, defeated the Nazis, and helped to fight the communists during the Cold War. Your thoughts? Send us a text at 573-319-1586, and we'll see you guys right back here again. Some of you. I think I might have lost a few followers today. Sorry to see you go, but I'd love to watch you walk away. See you right back here tomorrow. Many of you who are the true friends of freedom on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Bye, guys. Money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.